everybody, it's Julia Laird with Senior Susie Stamps. I'm glad you're here with me today. This is kind of a follow-up visit to the video that I made last week where we did the backgrounds for these calendar keepers that I made for my calendar group. And it was this stenciled piece, and so I had some of that left in the studio this week, and I've been trying to figure out what to do with that. So I took the stenciled pieces that were stenciled on white cardstock and cut them into A2 size layers based on the design in the paper. And I'm planning a 2-layer card with some embellishments on it. This chart is always over on the Facebook page, and I have it pulled as a post to the very top, so if you want to get the layer chart, that's where it always is, and I'll leave a link to that below. I was trying to mention this because we have several new followers in our little YouTube group, and so there it is. Okay, let's get started, and let me show you kind of what I've got today. Now, that was Tempting Turquoise ink on that original stencil, along with Lucky Limeade. I don't think we're going to use any of that today, though. And some Memento Tuxedo Black, and we will probably use a little bit of that. Now let me show you some punches, because this old Stampin' Up! Punch is a 6-sided flower, and that stencil was a 6-sided flower, so I pulled this old punch out to use, and I pulled this little punch out to use because I kind of like that little flower image for just a little accent. And I pulled this one out for this leaf. I also did some daisy punches just to layer up things and see how they look in the end. I have Thinking of You stamp, and I have some happy birthday sentiments in my notebook, and we'll use some of those today. I have a shaper tool, and somewhere around here I have some foam. I don't know what it's gotten off to at the moment. Of course, I have my tweezers, and this is my favorite white pen. It's a Jelly Roll 08. To me, it's consistent, it works well, it leaves a good white line for you on your project, and they're not very expensive, and that's just the best white pen I've ever run into. I also have a blue alcohol marker to do the edge on some, and my Marvy jewel picker. Now these little jewel pickers, incidentally, have 2 sides. I always use a little one because I'm typically using small gems, but there is a larger end. And if you ever notice that your jewel picker is starting to lose its sticky, it's probably because you got some stuff on it like I do here. And if you'll take your baby wipe or your take it down to your sink and clean it off real well, that sticky should come on back for you. Just a little tip there. Of course, I have my chisel tip marker. I have some cheesecloth and a couple of little strips of drywall tape, just for accent. I don't know that we use any of this, but I like to have things on hand. I've got 2 glues, Books by Hand, which is a PVA glue, and then my art glitter glue. I think that's all the supplies. So let me get this stuff cleared off, and I'll show you the projects that I've got going on here. Hang on a minute. So it looks like I've got 3, maybe 4 cards to make today, and you can tell it's the primary stencil where I put the ink through the stencil, and then this was the first pull on this particular piece. So those 2 are going to go together, and then I've got some embellishments for them and a little strip for the inside. And it's the same way with this one. This was the primary stencil piece, and this was actually the second pull, and you can see the difference on these 2 in the amount of detail that they have, but they're both equally good pieces to use for background. Now this piece is cut a 1/4 inch smaller than this piece, and it really just depended on the scraps that I had left. And then this is the final piece, and it looks like I've got, oh, I got two more. Sorry, I didn't realize that. So there's this one with that on the top, and this one with this on the top. Let me show you a couple of cards that I've got made already, and so you know kind of where we're going with this. And this is the first one. And you can tell this is Tempting Turquoise paper, and that was the ink, of course, that I used. And then I used all three of these punched flowers in Tempting Turquoise and in the black. I used my white Jelly Roll pen here and in the little development of this flower also. There's got a piece of drywall tape on it, a little label tag, a double bow made out of both blue and green. You may not be able to see that blue and green on there, but they're both in there. And then on the inside, I just put a little strip with my blue pen edging on it. And then this is the one that we're probably going to do the most of today. It has a basic sentiment on plain white, and then it has two different sized layers. It doesn't matter what size they are so much, but you want to have some definition to a simple card like this. And part of the way we do that is by foaming up every layer, except I did not foam up the sentiment. So I've got 2 layers of foam here by the time you reach this point. I've also got a little twine accent and a little small piece on the inside. So let's get started today. We're going to use some A2 size bases today, and I think I'll just use top fold card bases, and I believe I'll do the blue pen on the edge again, and I use the chisel point on that, and I want to make this a little heavier ink than what I normally do when I'm just black in the edge. So I am doing this one from the front carefully so that I don't drag my pen where it doesn't need to go. There, and now you can see that's a nice change between that and the white layer. I'll lay it there so you can look at that. And then I'm going to do the same with this top layer, and then we're going to foam. And this is just a really good way to use up any kind of scraps that you've got in your studio. I decided 2 years ago now that I was not going to refile scraps. So what I do instead of filing scraps is I just go ahead and make them up into cards, or at least into card fronts. And that way they're not making a bigger and bigger and bigger pile of scraps for me to have to deal with. This is the way I buy my tape, in 1-inch wide rolls. And on a project like this where I'm going to want to foam a large portion of the back, what I usually like to do is just take off a big piece like this, and I'll stick it to the front of my desk and cut it, and that way I don't have to pull each little individual piece off, but I can just cut pieces like this and have them ready to go on. And then if I happen to cut them a little bit long like I did this one, I take it and trim it off. I add it to a little piece of release paper, and then I keep those in my little foam tape supply that I keep right here on the front of the desk. I don't ever waste this because it is kind of expensive foaming things up, but it makes such an impact that I think it's worth it. So there's the first layer, and I'm going to go ahead and put that down on the main layer of the card. Well, this is what happened to me the other day. I thought I had 2 reams of 80-pound cardstock. And so I was just whistling Dixie and moving right on through that first ream, thinking I had another ream in the drawer. And it ended up that it wasn't another ream of 80-pound cardstock, it was a ream of 100-pound cardstock. So some of these layers are 100-pound, and I don't usually use that for anything but card bases. So it adds just a little extra thickness to the card. And in order to really stiffen up the card, I decided I was going to foam up all the layers, and that adds a lot of stiffness to your card, foaming it up. And then I can go back in with these little pieces that I cut off if I need to, and add them right back on where I cut too short, and it all works out great. Okay, so let's get this one put together, and then I'll go ahead and put the rest of these 3 together in the same fashion, these 3 other ones that are over here, so that you don't have to sit around and watch me do the same process over and over again. And we'll get to the embellishment part of this, because it's really the most fun, isn't it? I think it is, at any rate. So there we go. And if I were just in a hurry and using up these scraps just to get things going, this is where I would probably stop if I didn't have embellishments already. After, of course, I put my little strip on the inside. And I'm just going to use my tape runner to do that. There isn't any stress on the inside of these cards, so there's no need to super glue them down at all. I usually leave just a little tiny strip at the bottom. It's a personal preference. Has nothing to do with anything, except that's just kind of the way I like to do it. I know that's weird, but it is what I do. Alright, primarily the reason for that is so that it doesn't show through at the bottom if it sticks out just a little tiny bit. Okay, so I'm going to get these other 3 cards done to this point, and then we'll come back and embellish them together. So hang on. Okay, I'm back, and I've gotten some things put together here for us. I also pulled out some sentiments. Now I stamped the thinking of you in the tempting turquoise, and then I pulled some black and white sentiments out of my 9-pocket notebook. I punched a black flower with this punch, and I have run it through my scan and cut because I want to cut some backings for these flowers that we're going to make in just a minute. Okay, I got those cut, and I sized them up. This was originally 2.32 or 3.4, I can't remember which now, on the width, and I sized that up to 2.50 so that it makes a nice backing layer for these, and you'll see that in a minute. So I have 4 of those. I have one regular sized black one here. I think I'll put a piece of foam between these 2 layers, just kind of in prepping my things to use here in a minute. And I don't think with this one that I'm going to put any shaping on it. I think I'm just going to do it flat. There. And now you can see what a nice little flower that makes, and what a nice addition it will be to these cards. Okay. So let's get started with getting these things put together. I think on this one, because this layer is actually a first layer down, I'm just going to glue that directly to the card base. I did not put any foam on the back of that one. And because it is heavy cardstock and it will pull away with this ATG tape, I am going to put a little glue around the outside of it, so that it'll tighten up and hold well on the card. I know that's kind of an overkill, but I don't always send cards out right away. Sometimes they stay in the card rack for a while before they leave the studio, and there's nothing more aggravating to me than going to pull a card to send and have it not be good and tight together, and have to stop at what you're doing and figure out how to pull it back together and tighten it up. So that's why I do that, and it is based primarily on the reason that this is really heavy cardstock that I happen to be using today. And then this piece, I believe I'm going to put down on top of a piece of drywall tape that I'm just going to situate over here to the side a little bit and trim off even with the base of the card. so that it looks kind of like a little bit of a lattice work maybe. And then I'm going to take my piece that's already foamed up and just drop that right on top of there. Now on this one, you see flowers up here, so I'm putting this big flower down at the bottom. And I may put the sentiment up at the top then on this card. Let's see what we end up with. Maybe a smaller flower. And maybe a couple, 3 of them. I know these daisies don't exactly go with this stencil that we've got going on here, but I think they pull together. However, I do think it needs a little white ink on it, don't you? I think so. So I think we just run some in there and maybe do a little squiggly do on the middle here like this. You know, here's the deal. If I mess this up, hey, look, there's a back side. So be fearless. Do what you want to do with your stuff and enjoy the process. That's the way I look at it. There we go. And then one more. Now let's see if we like that. I think that actually looks fine that way. Okay, so this needs to be shortened up a little bit. Let me get my paper trimmer out so I can make a straight cut. And then I'm going to hang it where it's kind of hangs out this way just a little bit there. And I'm going to go ahead and glue that down. I'm going to glue these down just in the center. Alright, there's number 1. Let me get these other 2 done. And I might put a little turquoise punch center in there. Let's just see if we like that. These little doodle flowers are just whimsical, but they do add quite a bit to the piece. It looks like I shortcut that one little petal, and I'm just going to reshape it with my scissors. And I believe we will get some tempting turquoise paper and a circle punch. I have one here somewhere. And this is that 3/8 inch circle punch that I used the other day. Let's see how those look. And that pulls that card right in there together, doesn't it? This one has tape, foam tape, under both of these pieces. And I'm going to run some twine on this piece, I think. And I'm going to use this real pretty green twine. I'm going to get some cellophane tape. And this is not repositionable tape, it's regular tape. Just to have a little help on holding it to start. And that's all I'm doing. And then I'm going to do probably 3 wraps. And do a little trim. And another piece of tape. And that should hold just fine then. And you can spread them out after you tape them. That'll be fine either way you want to do it. If you want to just leave them wrapped tight or spread them out. Okay. Now I can put this down, and because I left my space between my foam tape, then the twine is not going to hump up the card at all. And this piece can go right over top, and unfortunately it will hump up this little piece just a touch, because I didn't think about that when I was foaming it, or I would have left a little spot that it wouldn't have ridden on the twine at all. Now I put a black edge around this one. The other one that we just finished, I put a turquoise edge on it. So I think it stands out actually a little bit more. What do you think? I don't know. I kind of like both of them actually. Well, at any rate, but maybe this is the card to do that one. I need a little bow. Let me tie a bow real quick and we'll see what we have. This is my 10-second bow maker. Gosh, those of you who have been on this channel for a while know I just love it. And I'll leave a link to that below as well for the new folks that are coming on board, because if you don't have a bow maker that you love, I can highly recommend this one. It's truly wonderful. That card looks about done to me, doesn't it you? Hang on. let's get this glued down. I'm not going to put any more foam on it because that's already 3 layers between the 2 layers on the card and the 1 layer between the flowers. And I'm just going to put a little glue on the top of it and let it kind of hang loose a little bit. I'm not even sure it needs that bow, but I'm going to go ahead and put it on since I got it made. Down, and there we are. Oh, and this one has a little strip on the inside as well. This third one is all together in one piece, and I think I'm going to go ahead and make another one of those flowers like what I just used. And I'm going to get my stencil back, and I'm going to stencil right onto this blue paper. And with the way that punch works, you need to have one of the 6 petals coming straight down. And that's really the only key to this, is to have one petal straight down, and then it punches really easily. So I'm going to use a blending brush and blend some ink down in there. And I want to put it in good and heavy so that it shows up really well. There we go. And then I'm going to go right back in with some black ink on that center again. And I'm going to put that down pretty heavy also. There we go. There we are. Yay! And that's just another way that you can layer up your images. If you use the same stencil over and over again, use it through the stencil, use it picking up from the stencil, and then go back and stencil it again on some kind of an accent piece like what we're doing here. And here we go. Just right like that. And it's not a perfect match, and that is perfectly fine with me. Now this black piece is the same size. I'm going to try just to twist that just a little bit, because some of you wouldn't have a scanning cup, but you could double punch like this and get an effect that really throws that shadow on the back for you. And this is only 1 layer of foam so far, so I think I will put a little piece of foam in between these layers here. And all I'm going to do is to offset. So I'm going to bring it in line where it looks perfect and then twist it just a tights. That's all I'm doing. And then you can see how well that shows up then on this background piece. Alright, here we go. We're going to glue this down. I'll be interested to know if you all have a favorite card. I think I'll put this one up towards the top a little bit. The stenciled image. There. And then I think I'm going to do the thinking of you. And maybe this little image down here. And I think I will put a little black edge around this just to make it kind of stand out a little bit, since we've got that really dramatic big flower on that card. I think it helps to make your sentiments stand out just a little bit. And if I don't like this tempting turquoise, then I'll stamp it again on the back in black. So about like that, I think will be fine. And maybe some green leaves. Hang on. I got some green over here. And I think this is Lucky Limeade. I'm just using up some scrap paper that I've had in the stash for a long time. And that's another good way to use some of your scrap paper, is punch your leaves out of it. Doesn't have to be solid. You can do all kinds of little different leaves that you punch them out of designer paper that way. There. I think something like that's going to be fine. Let me get this piece glued down first. Equal border here and over here. That's what I'm looking at right now. And of course that it's straight down here. And then I'm going to put my leaves in with just some dots of glue here and there. They don't require a whole lot. And I'm going to break the line with both of them. There we go. And then some glue on this. And I think we'll be all set. And this one, yeah, maybe about like that. There we go. And then bring it on in just a little bit. There. Let's look at our last card. This is the one that we put together originally. And I'm down to some little bits and bobs and pieces here. Okay, here we go. And I'm putting that ink down really intensely because I want it to be quite dramatic when we punch it and put it on this card. Okay, and I'm going to get the same black. I'm going to get my smaller blending brush out that I've already used on black to do that today. And there we go. Let's bring that out just a little bit more, out into the flower some. Oh yeah, I like that. I think I want to come around the outside too. Just a little touch, just for some drama. This is the Drama Queen flower. Let's just see how it looks in the end. We can always do it again, you know. There we go. Now, voila. Oh, I like that. Don't you? Let me know if you like it. Because, you know, I'm always interested to see. Oh, that's just got a lot of drama in there. Goody, 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 goody. Now, where's my punch? Hang on, let's see what it looks like on the card. That may just be too pretty to put on this card. Okay, I need to trim off just a little bit on this side. Got too much room from the punch to the center. There we go. All right. And there we are. I think that's going to be really pretty on that. Now, the determining factor is, do we want a black backer on it or not? Let's just see. I may have to change this to black ink. I'm pretty sure I will. I'm gonna go ahead and stamp the back of it in VersaFine, just to see, give us some options. We like options, don't we? And hopefully I can get it right in the middle of this and get it straight. There we are. That stamp is Stampendous 1994. That's all I can tell you about it. I bought it used from eBay. Alright, now I'm thinking, oh my, what do you think? I think that would be nice. Like that. And do we like it that way, or do we like it this way? I think that's too washed out, and I really wish the border on this were black, but it isn't, so we're going to deal with that. I don't like that. Happy greetings. How about like that? Okay, that's working for me, and it needs some green leaves, doesn't it? All right, now let's get this thing glued down before I do anything else here. And I don't know that I actually need black around this one because of the size of it. So I'm going to put it down as is. And I'm going to bring it up towards the middle a little bit more and hang it off the edge some. There we go. And then I'm going to bring the flower in. And this one has that nice black edge around it. Right like that. Now this is already on 2 layers, but I do think that needs another layer of foam. So here we go. Just going to put a little glue on some of these leaves so they don't all just stick down flat. Whoops, that's not good, Julia. And then we do one like this. And I want to get them pointing towards the center of the flower. And there we are. And then this little guy can go down. And we're done. We're done. I think some little gems right there would be nice. So that's what we're going to do. And I'm going to put those down with art glitter glue because it grabs a little bit quicker. Okay, there you are. I like that one. Okay, let me see. I'll get these cards back in for you to see them all. So here they all are, and I hope you had an enjoyable day today and that you'll try some backgrounds of your own and pull not only what you put through the stencil, but pick up all the ink off your stencil, and then maybe use it for backgrounds with what you do, and go back with your stencil and pick up another element in the process. So I hope you have a great week, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye, everybody.